Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. In the past 8 years, I have posted a lot of content dedicated to doing makeup on hooded eyes and or mature skin. I started this channel when I was 42, after having worked as a makeup artist for more than 20 years. And one of the biggest struggles my clients of all ages would tell me about was with their hooded eyes. I say this in all of my hooded eye videos, and I'm going to say it again right now. There is nothing wrong with having hooded eyes. Hooded eyes are beautiful. Some of the most stunning people in the world have hooded eyes. So I wanted to get that out of the way immediately because in the past, people have come at me saying, why are you telling people to change the look of their eyes? Hooded eyes are beautiful. Yes, they are. What you're going to do with these tips and tricks is use them to just make your eyes appear even more beautiful and give them the most flattering shape. That's why we put makeup on in the first place, isn't it? Because we want to enhance what we already have, bring out our best features, put our best face forward. Now, as I mentioned moments ago, I started this channel when I was about 42 years old. I just turned 50 and things have started to change. They have gone from difficult to very difficult when it comes to making up my eyes. Applying eyeshadow, applying eyeliner. My lids have gotten a lot heavier. The skin itself is a lot looser. So what I'm trying to say is that hooded eyes at 40 is different than hooded eyes at 50, which is different than hooded eyes at 60, which is different than hooded eyes at 70. So in today's video, I'm gonna show you how I go from this to this using all of my best hooded eye techniques, including one that I have just recently discovered. So I've already done a couple of the required steps, at least the requirements in my book. Not everyone needs an eyeshadow primer, and some people like to use concealer as their eyeshadow primer, or they like to use some sort of cream eyeshadow. I highly, highly recommend getting a specific product that is for keeping eyeshadow on, an eyeshadow primer. Not only do eyeshadow primers keep the eyeshadow on by keeping the oils of the lids at bay, they also help your eyeshadow to be more vibrant so you can use less. When you use a concealer as an eyeshadow primer on the lid, especially for mature skin, they are often too heavy for that very, very, very thin skin we have on our lids, which gets thinner and thinner as we age. So a heavy concealer as a primer isn't going to work. You can try using a light cream eyeshadow, but I highly, highly recommend for transfer resistance and for keeping your eyeshadow on all day, get yourself an actual eyeshadow primer. This one is from P. Louise. NARS makes a great one, the Pro Prime eyeshadow base. I've used the Milani eyeshadow base in the past. A lot of people in the comments of my videos have recommended the Wet n Wild eyeshadow primer. So there's an eyeshadow primer for every budget. The next thing you're going to want to do is take a little powder. Any high quality loose powder will do. And you want to set that eyeshadow primer, just to make sure that there's no creasing. And something else I recommend you do before you even get started doing your eye makeup is take a little micellar water on a cotton ball and clean off your lids, just to make sure that there are no remaining oils on the lid. It's just like when you apply press-on nails. They always give you an alcohol wipe, or they tell you to use some sort of acetone remover to make sure that there are no oils on your nails. That way the nails are going to stick to the glue so much better. Same thing with your eyeshadow. If there are no oils on the lid, your eyeshadows are going to go on smoother and last longer. So now that I've set my eyeshadow primer, I do something that you can either do before your eye makeup or you can do it at the end. Some people do their brows toward the end of their makeup routine. Some people do it first. I do it sort of midway. I do my foundation, concealer, then my brows, then my eyes. I find that if I do my brows first and then I try to apply foundation, I always end up messing up my brows, so I do them after. Now this is a repeat step that I've shown in pretty much all my hooded eye videos, and that is to go underneath the brow with a concealer and a flat brush and make sure that they are very clean under the arch, because you want to have as much open lid space as possible. So if you have any hairs that are down here, and as many of us know, as we get older, those brow hairs or just hairs in general start growing in odd places. And for me, they have started growing right on my lid. Barely visible hairs, but they're there, and they definitely make blending a little bit more difficult. You may be wondering why your eyeshadow isn't blending that easily, but if you look closely into a 10 times magnified mirror, you might be seeing that there are little hairs there that are getting in the way. So when I do this, I can see all those hairs that I need to tweeze, and then I also use this to angle my brows towards my temples and not downwards towards my cheek. We don't want anything brought down. We want everything lifted up. So I'm doing the same thing on the other side. I actually already did this, but I forgot to get it on camera, so I'm doing it again. So you can see now how my eyebrows are extending more out versus down. So this is going to give me as much lid space as possible. Now, in past hooded eye videos, I have shown several different techniques. One technique that got a lot of attention was mapping out the eye with a kohl pencil. And that technique works great on moderately hooded eyes. But as I was saying, in the last year or two, even that method hasn't really worked that well for me. And if you need a refresher on that technique, I can put a link to that video down below in the description box. But basically you just take a kohl pencil. I don't have one right here. Oh, yes, I do. You take a kohl pencil and you just sort of map out the crease and the outer V, and then you blend that out and you sort of just take it from there. It's kind of like a hooded eye guide. But if the lids are really, really heavy, that's kind of difficult to do. And I've noticed that not only the heaviness makes a difference, but also the texture of the lid. So keep that in mind when you're watching other tutorials. Yes, makeup artists work on thousands of faces over the course of their careers. Most of us have worked on all skin tones, all age groups, all skin types, all eye shapes. The truth of the matter is no one knows an eye shape better than someone who actually has that eye shape. Someone who has been doing, like me, eyeshadow on their hooded eyes day after day, year after year. So I'm going to zoom you in now and we're going to start on the eyeshadow, including that little technique that made the biggest difference. All right, as I go through this tutorial, I'm just gonna tell you the type of shades that I'm using because the brand does not matter. You can use eyeshadows from the drugstore, you can use eyeshadows from Neiman Marcus, as long as you find them to be nicely pigmented, blendable, and long lasting. But I find that with an eyeshadow primer, even eyeshadows that aren't normally that long lasting, you can actually get a lot more longevity from them. Something else I've mentioned in my hooded eye videos before is that you want to use smaller brushes for hooded eyes. You may have noticed that I use this big fluffy brush to set the eyeshadow primer. That's all I will use a brush like this for. Or sometimes you might use a brush like this when you're all done with your makeup and you just want to soften any harsh edges. But I would not recommend a brush of this size for the actual application of eyeshadow. You want to go in with smaller brushes. And I like to use crease brushes that are actually a little bit shorter. I find that when they're too long, let me see if I have one and as an example. This one isn't horrible, but as you can see, it's narrower and longer. The shorter and denser the brush, the more control you're going to have. So I'm going in with a light neutral brown and I'm looking directly into a mirror. And then I push right where my crease should be. That gives me the placement. Then what I do is I put my chin up, put my eyes down. So my chin is up, my eyes are down, and I can see my entire lid. And so with my brush there, then I move back and forth in a windshield wiper motion. And then you can put your chin down, and now you can just go back and forth, looking in the mirror with your eyes open, and you can see that the eyeshadow is still visible with my eyes open. And I want it to still be visible when I have my mascara on, as well as maybe some lashes. So we just keep doing this, and then we are going to extend it out towards the temples. So we're gonna do this motion. Arch and out. So we'll call it the arch, out, arch, out. Okay, I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Again, these are just neutral browns, so I'm pushing in, putting my chin up, looking down, spreading it out, blending it out, and then going back and forth in a windshield wiper motion. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then bringing it out. So arching out, arching out, arching out. And then you can go back in as many times as you need to. Raising my brows really helps me, and then also continuing to occasionally put my chin up and my eyes down so I can see the entirety of my lid space. Okay, now we're going to put something on the lid, whether you want to put a shimmer, and yes, if you're over 40, if you're over 50, you can still wear shimmer. But today I think I'm going to demonstrate using just a matte shade. I'm going to take like a matte ivory, and I'm just going to pop that on my lid. And I like to keep the brightness at the inner corner of my eye. And because I don't have a lot of lid space, I'm not taking the ivory all the way to the edges because that's where I want to add a little bit of darkness and lift. Now, some people may say that this is an old school technique. This is how we learned to do makeup back in the day. But you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This look is one of the most flattering and easily attained for most people. I hope my finger wasn't just in the way that whole time. So maybe this will be better. So I'm just pressing on my lid. And don't forget that your fingers make great tools. And you can see how using my finger also helps to blend out the shadow better than just laying it down with a brush, because I'm really able to work the product onto that thin lid skin. Cover all the little nooks and crannies that brushes can't get to. Here's what I do next. We're not quite at the trick yet, but we're getting there. For this step, you can either use a flat brush or you can use one that's slightly angled like this one. Both of these are from the Morphe Makeup by Ariel collection. And I'm going to go from my lower lash line and angle that up. I'm gonna start right here, just tapping and then bringing it up. So again, placing right here and sort of winging it out. I know this looks really, really strange right now. So this is where I have been struggling. I want to do a smoky winged outer corner, but I have this fold right here. And I can do that eyeliner technique where it sort of looks like a bat wing where you come in and then angle it down. And I can do that, but I still haven't decided if I actually really like it that much. And if you're like me, you may have one eye that is more hooded with a heavier fold than the other. And that's also extremely frustrating. So the technique I am about to teach you, I'm calling it the press and blend, because what we're going to do is we're going to take the tip of a brush and we're going to go into whatever shade we want to use for the outer corners, tap off the excess, and then we are going to press the eyeshadow onto the lid like so. And then we're going to blend afterwards, but we're going to continue to press right at the edge and see I can get right underneath that fold with the pressing motion. And yes, I'm going outside of my guide a little bit, but don't worry, it'll get fixed. Right now we're just pressing. Press, press, press. Make sure you are getting underneath that fold. Press, press, press. Again, looking kind of strange, but it's gonna be good afterwards, I promise. And then you can sort of bring it in if you want like a soft eyeliner look, but we're just pressing. So now that we have that weird looking shape, this is where we go in and blend. And you're just going to blend out those edges. You can even use your finger. And I'm just sort of like punching. Maybe I should call this the press, punch, and blend. Punching, blending, punching, because I really want to make sure that I get right under here, that there's not a gap. So I'm punching, pressing, blending. Punch, press, blend. And I found that punching and pressing just works so much better for me than trying to do like little swirls, little circles like I used to be able to do. And with the punching, you're just adding just the slightest amount of color, and you're really able to diffuse the pigments. Okay. So one eye is almost done. Now I'm going to take a flat brush, go into a brow bone shade, and use that to blend everything out softly. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just pressing, pressing, pressing. Press, tap, punch, whatever you want to call it, because now we're punching. And this little sort of rounded brush really helps to get right in there under the fold. So brushes definitely make a big difference. So punch, 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 pat, pat, pat. And then blend, blend, blend. The reason why I'm punching into this area right here is because that is where the skin on my lids hangs down the most, and I want to give my eyes more depth. So dark colors make things recede, light colors bring things forward. So doing this type of motion, well, having the dark color there, first of all, gives my eyes more depth, as I just said, but then back to this punching or pushing and blending, just keep doing this, because that is what is going to give you that professional looking blend. Then if you want to, I often do this, go back in with that lid color on your finger or a brush. The second time around I usually use a brush. And I just add a little bit more of the light color. So once I have pushed or punched and blended to my heart's content, and I've taken it up as high as I want it to go, the more you press and blend, the less pigment's going to be on your brush. So you'll naturally get that more diffused look. Now what I'm doing is taking a little concealer, and I'm going to clean up under those corners. You can use a makeup wipe for this, or you can use a pointed Q-tip with some eye makeup remover. I'm going to go in and go right under the fold and angle the shadow up. And the concealer really gets rid of any of the eyeshadow fallout. So I want this really to be angled up towards my temple. I don't know what's going on with that eyebrow. Doing the same thing on this side. Now this next step is optional, but I do like to give my lash line a little bit of definition with like a dark, dark brown or an off black. And my favorite brush to apply eyeliner to my hooded eyes is this tiny little angled brush from BK Beauty. It is the 208. And I'm applying this black-brown combo right at the base of my lashes, as close to the lash line as possible. Okay, now it's time to curl lashes. After I curl my lashes, I like to tight line. And now I'm applying mascara. Okay, the look is complete. I've always felt that false lashes really opened up my hooded eyes, but I found so many of them to be too dramatic, so I created my own line with BK Beauty, and these are two of my favorites. The Martini Corner lashes, which I have applied, and you will see in a moment, and then the Day Club lashes. I designed these lashes specifically to either be cut in half to give a lift to just the outer corners of a downturned eye, or for those who have more of a monolid and want length in the center. I will list all of the products that I used in this video in the description box with links. However, keep in mind, as I said earlier in the video, you don't have to use these exact products. You can use similar shades. This was really more about technique, brushes and technique. Now, I don't know if the little press and blend or punch and blend or push and blend that I demonstrated in this video is new. Someone else, sometime, somewhere, very well may have put out a video showing this exact technique, but I have never seen it and I have never used it until recently when I just had to. It was the only way. Doing my eyeshadow this way, the way you just saw demonstrated, is now the only way that I can get my eyeshadow to look smooth and well blended while at the same time making my hooded eyes appear their best. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I do upload new content at least twice per week. I have a lot of hooded eye content and tips and techniques woven into a lot of my regular content, my testing hot new makeup. Anytime I do any sort of tutorial, I always like to give some sort of added instruction with it. So I do hope you will subscribe to my channel. I hope you will leave me a comment and a thumbs up. And that'll do it for this one. I hope to see you in my next video.